Hello again. On the previous video, I cut the tutorial short because I got stuck trying to figure out how to override the input. Full disclaimer, I have no idea what I did. Uh, I didn't change anything. This is exactly what we had. The only difference now is I have these extra settings which have nothing to do with the override. So it now works, and the rule is if it works, don't touch it. But just to show you what I did yesterday was in your main layout, no, in your widget you could have a different name. On your widget, just got the graph, event graph. This will be the event graph. Then on functions, you're going to have this option for override. So when you click on that, you get a bunch of options and select on key down. So on the graph for the key down, and the key event, get the key, check if it's keyboard, and then also check if it's the key you want. So that's B for me. And if that's the case, then you're going to remove this active widget. So that way we're going to use the same button that we used on the character blueprint to pull the widget on to remove it from the screen. And a simpler solution is just use the flip-flop button, but I don't like it because sometimes I end up deleting the blueprint and it affects this whole, it affects other blueprints, including this one. So I like having everything on its own. So doing away with one won't affect the others. But today we're going to look at these separate components. As I said today, yesterday, I prefer approaching the interface the same way you would with React or Angular or Vue uh, on a component-based system. So I have these, uh, let's call them components. I'm sure that's not the term we use in Unreal. So we have this main layout which we made yesterday, and then these are the components that are loaded into the main layout. And the only reason I do this is to avoid a problem I had previously. So this is something I was working on sometime in the past, and you can see that we have so many things uh, in the hierarchy that you can get lost. So to fix that, I just have everything separately. So this is the entirety of my main menu now. Nothing else is being added here. So the new components, like you can see vehicles here, settings of properties, these are all added into this size box. And the way you do that, let me just stop this. The way you do that is a very simple function, and then create a custom event. And you could create a function, but the problem for me with function is that they have limited access to some things. Like you can't use delay in the thing. You have to use some different timer. In this, but keep. Let me check. Timer, set timer something. Set timer by function, and so yeah, by event, by handle. I don't like that. In here, in the main event graph, you have access to everything. So it's easier for me this way. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the size box and removing all children. If there's anything in there, then I destroy. So you make, just to make sure that you don't overlay a different layout on another. Uh, if you do that and you have backgrounds, that's fine. You'll see the previous one. But if you don't, or you don't plan to use a background, make sure you delete the existing children. And then create the widget. So the class is being passed through the navigation layout. And this was being done manually. So every button, you see we have a bunch of buttons. And these buttons are the ones you're seeing here. These are those buttons. So I have them separately, and on click for each button, you load layout and set the class. So let me go back to my menu and show you how you do that. If you're creating a custom event like this, let's say custom, uh, call it view count. Call it view count, and you want to see how many garages have been viewed in the game. So just to know how many times players go to each garage and find so that way you can, I guess, try to figure out why they're not going to the lesser build garages and other stuff. So what you do is once you compile, you'll have this option for inputs. Just create new input, and then for me, I needed the class of the widget I'm creating. So in this case, just search for user widget, and on the drop down, there's a bunch of stuff. Usually, what you need is the object reference, but what I'm using is the class reference. You fetch the object after creating the widget. So you pass the class to the create widget, and then the object uh, is populated right here on the return value. So that object is going to add as child. Add child works for almost all components except for when they're canvas. If you're using a canvas panel like this one here, the main one, in which case you're going to use add child to canvas. Okay, okay, yeah. Add child to canvas. This is the specific one used for canvas panel. The rest just use add child. So with that done, I think I was able to close the main layout and focus on what I was doing. And that was the properties layout. It's it's not the best interfaces, honestly. I added a font. The way you do that is just drag your font file. It's usually TTF. Just drag it and release it. It will give you the option to import it as font. And once you have it, it's going to generate a font face and the font. So the font is what you want. Select your text, and you have an option here under font family. Just set it right there. You can download free fonts and anything. I can't remember the website where I got mine from, but there's a bunch of this stuff. So many free fonts out there. Uh-huh. So this is one of probably the biggest components I am going to work on. I don't usually like it when there's so many things in here. It's almost credible, but I needed to do that because of this one tiny section down here. It's a separate component inside a different component, and that's I don't know. These are all blueprints which I got it from a different project. So let's see. So you see the extra properties you see being scrolled down here. That's what I needed the extra components for. Uh, So the way I styled this was a bunch of vertical and horizontal boxes. That's how I handle almost everything. Uh, because when you add a component, or this thing's called component, I'm using the wrong name. Pretty sure I'm using the wrong name. But let's just call them components for now. So when you add anything here, let's say a button or a spacer, you could select fill, and if you select fill for everything, they will automatically resize themselves equally. So if there's two, then they'll both cover half the screen. The the bottom one is not covering half the screen because I'm using a different thing called sizebox, which you can override the height and width. And the importance of a sizebox is it gives you a way of actually being able to add these to dynamically load these components with and maintaining their what do you call it? Maintaining their size. Well, it's a size box. So let me just show you what I mean. Let me take the horizontal box and then oh, first see what happens. So this is a functional area. So this is what's supposed to be. It should cover the whole screen. The button should be visible. But if I instead use a horizontal box, in this case instead of the size box, where's the box? First you need to set it to variable and then drag it here. So put this there, put this there, compile. And so when I try loading that layout, this is what happens. The buttons are all squeezed, the text is gone, and the sizing is all wrong. So if you don't want to go through this problem, use a size box. It fixes it. It fixes almost all the problems how that I've gone through with that religion. I was actually stuck here for 6 hours and it will realize that size box could have solved this thing for me in the morning. So properties. So in this property layout we have a canvas. A scale box is used to scale the image. So if you just have an image like this, and let's say we set it to maximum and cover the whole screen, the image is going to appear squeezed. You could try resizing it yourself, it will appear stretched, it just won't work the way you want it. So to fix that, wrap the image with a scale box and then set your parameters. Like for me, I've set it to scale to fill, so it can cover the whole area, the whole area. Then in the image, I left it as center. You could work with these other areas. For instance, let's say you want to display the bottom area. So I think this one's way better because it focuses on the building. You could pick the top area. So these are just different settings you can play with and find whichever you want. So I set on center for this image. Now let's go to the bottom area. Compile. With that done with the background set, this is what I had. So the idea here was to have the text, the property details on the left, and then a main image on the right, but I ended up not having the main image. And so what I had was first a gradient which covers the image. So you could see it's sort of a filter, and the only reason I added that is because if you add let's say white text on this background, it won't appear that fine. If you added black text, then these darker areas would have made the text hidden. And my gradient is not the best. As you can see, I press play and load the properties. I don't think you can read this text, especially when it's overlaid on the building. So I'm still going to have to play with the text. I'll find something functional. Find a color that works. Let me see. The bottom area is just a size box and a scroll box. Again, the size box is to at least help me maintain the size of the layout. And on the single property layout where I'm loading the image, I also have a size box, and this one helps me fix the width so that we don't have one of these items being larger than the other in case, let's say, the text overflows. So I have it at 345 and 345, and back on the property layout where I'm going to have to add the single property there. I've set the size book width to 350, so that's 5 pixels or points or centimeters. I don't know the units, but it's 5 units uh, larger than the single property. So that gives me an area to at least add a padding. So this space here, I'm still going to have to redesign this whole thing. You can think you've noticed by now, the names are just placeholders. So eventually I'm going to have to start working on adding either data tables or previously I used, let me see, nation. Oh, data assets, not data tables. I'm pretty sure there's something like data tables somewhere. It's usually under miscellaneous, data layer, data assets, data table. Okay, yeah. So what I use is data assets. So I think that's what I'm going to stick with. And the purpose of data assets is, let me find the previous property. Yeah, property. Okay. So you're going to have something like this. So they just set the parameters that it's going to accept. So for now, I have a location insert vector, and that's going to be location in the game. So these locations are going to be used to place icons on the map to show you where your property, your garage, your offices are. The name of the property can be editable, whether or not it has a garage, whether the size of the garage, so how many cars you can hold in there, whether or not you can sell it, and a bunch of other properties that you want to add for yourself. And so the way you use this is, let's say, in property layout, come here and then create a new variable and call them running properties. And the type for this would be, what's the name? Player property. Player property. There. I'll compile, and then with that done, I think I can add, because it's an array. No, I have to set it to array. I have to set it to array. So to do that, on your details panel, I think you also be somewhere down here. Just scroll mine to the other side and use the it be here. So right now, if you just have the bill looking thing, that's a single property, a single item, I mean. But you can set it to array or a set or a map. For now, let's use arrays, compile, then create a bunch of properties here. Before we do that, let me add an image. Call it image and local. Is it image or text? Image, right, rich image, or put something. Image there. Object reference. Probably not what I'm looking for. Let me test this and then come back and test it with the texture. So in properties, I'm going to add the first property. Let's call it fast. That's going to stay that way. House, garage, all this stuff. Can't see image here. I'm not sure why I don't have the okay here. So yeah, that's not what I was looking for. Let's try texture. And the something texture. Okay. See what happens. My properties layout, compile, come back here, texture. Okay, so now we have the option to add your images there. So I already downloaded some AI generated images for these properties. If you want to use your own image in the game, you could just come in here. Let me first load everything. Windows. With given spins, so you see I already have some buildings. These are all bulk level instances. So if I want these images in the game instead of AI generated ones, we use this camera. It's called a scene capture 2D. So the way you add that would be come to place after panels, search for scene capture 2D. Once you add that, go back to your whatever folder you're working from, and then in your textures folder, create a new texture called a render target. So just right click, go to texture, select render target. I already have mine here, this one. And with the render target created, go back to your scene capture 2D. Under details, you have the texture target, then select texture target right there. And once you do that, this texture, the render target is going to pick the image that your camera is pointed to. So for instance, let's say I want to spin it this way. So you see on my render target, the image is changing. So once you have it set up like this, let's say this is what you want. You want it. Let's say this is the building. Okay, this looks fine. Go back to your your what's the name? Render target. Right click. Go to asset action. Export, and it's going to give you this file, which is an EXR. This file is well, it's a texture, it's an image you get, but I think you can't open it with anything except Photoshop. At least that's how I've seen it for me. But Photoshop is good because once you open it there, you can just export it again as PNG. While in Photoshop, feel free to edit your image as much as you want. You could remove the background, add some stuff in there. So, just show your player that this building is edited, upgradable. So once you have your texture done exported, just import it back, and then I'm using these AI generated ones as placeholders for me. So I'll select this, go back to my properties layout, this one here, then set the image, save that, create a new one, call it second, select a different image, scroll down, get it there, compile, create a new one, call it third. I'm going to create 4 or 5. I'll select the next one, go to image, and the last one. It's something different, this one here, and set the image. Let's call it lost. So usually you want this property somewhere else, and for my case, I have it on my game save, so that's going to be a player's property. We'll get to that, how to create them and save them so that every time you load a game, you still have the property. But for now, this just dummy properties. You can see that I had a for loop. So let's delete this one, get the dummy properties, and then add a for each loop. Okay, for each loop, and so you're going to create the single property. In the single properties where you want to set up your name, the the property details. So in this case, I'm just going to take the name and the image. Those are the only inputs I have. So go back to the property, select the name, come here and set it, create a new binding, and then promote. Oh, no. Create the binding on the text, not the color. So add some content, create a new binding. Yeah, it's going to give you a text input. So promote dash to variable. Let's call it property. Nice. And I think the image was no, this one right here. Okay, so create a binding and then promote to variable and call it property image. So with that done, you go back to event graph, and then under event construct, set property image, post this right here. Oh, okay, so I think I'm just going to do that on the other side. So you could create a custom event, and then set property image, and then set property name. So with these ones here, just drag and drop the pin onto your custom event and create new parameters for it. These are considered local variables, so don't worry about the naming. They won't interfere with the ones you already have. And so let me just first name this to property detail. Okay, so with that done, I'm going back to my main properties here, and then here, actually this one here, call the function property detail, and then you're going to get the name, the element here, get image. Is it image? Let me see. It's image. Okay, element image. It's odd that it does this. Usually you just drag and the way you could drag here and get property image. So for this one, you're going to need to split it. So I think that's because these are what's this data asset, something a structure. I mean, a structure. So you're going to split struct, and from there you're going to get all this stuff. So what I need is an image. Wow. Again, texture click is not compatible. Yeah, I knew I was doing something wrong here. It needs to be an image, and let's just set the name first. Compile. Can you create image? It is. Okay, save, put in size, print, all the stuff. Oh, okay, so I think you could just drag this and create a new struct. Should be able to create a new structure. You do new array, but let me just make this structure the same as this one and paste the text right there, and then compile. So if we go back here, I'm assuming it will work. The editor. So properties. Oh, right. So first, second, third, last, the image is also different. That's that's a very basic setup. I know my colors are too bright. Let me see if I can turn them a little bit to make it possible to see what I'm doing here. So what I need is this image right here and just remove it. Visibility, that is to collapse. For now, compile, save, play, see properties. Right, so you can now see the images, but now you can see the text. So that's the whole point of having that gradient there. I'll I'll find a way of getting the correct colors, but I think you can see the concept here of loading different components separately. So I'm going to create vehicles settings today, create a video just going over what I did, and then I just work on home stuff, missions, and this thing up here. Okay, I'll work on most the last because that's probably the most complex thing here. I think I'm just going to let me see, did I miss anything? This one's fine. I think going through these. Yeah, that's it for this video. Uh, I'll work on my presentation. I know I'm not explaining everything as well as I should, but pretty sure once I get hung of this YouTube thing, I'll be able to make better videos in the future. Thanks.